If you have so many fresh tomatoes and you don't know what to do with them, you came to the right place. In this video, I will show you how to turn them into a delicious homemade tomato sauce. Guitar freaks and anorex lovers of the freshly home-cooked tomato sauce. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to another episode of Guitar Maker's Food. People. It's the middle. No, it's not the middle. It's the end of August. And there's so many ripe tomatoes on my plants. I don't know what to do with them. And I recalled in a fine memory a long time ago, I was touring Italy with a band. And an old lady, older lady, Maria, I called her La Mama, she showed me how to cook this basic tomato sauce from scratch with fresh tomatoes. People, if it's wintertime, you can use canned tomatoes. But if you got so many tomatoes hanging on the vines and they're getting a bit overripe, so a bit of a squeezy, that's the perfect tomato to cook this sauce with. It's gonna take a long time. We do this low and slow. We don't want to force those tomatoes into that sauce. We gently gonna let them slip into a sauce that everybody's gonna enjoy. People, are we ready for this great recipe from Maria? Thank you so much. People, let's do this, shall we? First in line is the garlic, people. Oop, that one wants to run away, and to stop garlic from running away, you smash it. You smash it real good. The other reason why you smash it is it brings out a lot of flavor, a better flavor, a nicer garlic flavor. Now next up is the onion. The onion is a totally different paste, but how to peel it? You take off the bottom end, you take off the top end, and then you peel away with a very sharp knife, people. You peel away that very dry skin, because nobody likes the dry skin of an onion. And now you got two peeled onions. How to cut them? You slice them in two. You put the flat side down, and then you take like 13 cuts lengthwise. Then you cross cut. And then you chop it up in little tiny squares, people. That's the classic way to cut an onion. And then you show off, and you do it really fast with a very sharp knife. Dangerous. Yeah. But very serious now, always use a sharp knife, people. A blunt knife can be very dangerous because you use a lot more force to cut something. If you cut by accident your finger, the blunt knife will go with a lot of force into your finger. If you use a sharp knife, you don't need that much force. You let the knife do its job, cutting stuff with a minimum amount of force. That's why it's a lot safer. Anyhow, you preheated a cast iron pan and you add those nicely chopped onions to that pan and hear them sizzle. This is gonna take a little while. We're not gonna brown the onions, we're gonna make them translucent. They will release a lot of sweetness, those sweet onions. So let them party in that pan for a while. Don't be afraid, don't burn them. Meanwhile, we're gonna chop up some tomatoes. The tomatoes are coming from my garden, and here I'm showing off how sharp my knife is, and I'm making a fool of myself. But fresh organic tomatoes, and they are totally fine when they're overripe. They're even better. Now make some space for some tomato paste. Yes, tomato paste. You have to bake tomato paste to get rid of its bitterness. That's what we're doing here. You can stir the tomato paste into the onions, people, because onions like to party with tomato paste. Together they will release so much sweetness, it's incredible. Now focus on some nice wine. Pour yourself a tiny glass and taste it. If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for the onions and the tomato paste that are gonna party and release a lot of sweetness to each other, people. This is a great party, the start of a great marriage. Let them do their thing, and once a while stir. And oh darn, all that fine wine, I almost forgot the garlic But no panicking, people, this won't be a showstopper for this beginning of this great marriage. While the onion, tomato paste, fine wine and garlic are getting to know each other really good, it's very important that the wine doesn't overtake everything. So let the wine evaporate. Very important. Evaporation of the fine wine. So after 5 to 10 minutes with a little bit of stirring, the fine wine is evaporated really nice, and it's time to introduce a new guest to this party, the organic tomato. Yes. And right after the tomatoes were allowed to join this party, we're gonna add some rosemary. Organic rosemary from garden, some fresh bay leaves, you smash it a bit, and then we're gonna add some paprika powder, not the smoked stuff. If you want to have smoked tomato sauce, you came to the wrong place. Anyhow, now you can add some herbs de Provence. It's a dried herbs from the south of France. They will balance out the fresh rosemary really nice, people. Please do add it, believe me. Now it's time for the most important ingredient of this party, and this is the Hilko hot salt. Once all the invited guests entered the party, you give it a little bit of a stir, and then you let them party for many, many hours. Don't forget to turn the heat down to low, and after 1 hour you get this. A lot of water escaped from the tomatoes. Give it a good stirry stir and let it go for an hour and a half. That will be just fine. And here we are for the second time. It's time to stir again. So give it a good stir and let it go for another hour and a half. Here we are, people. After 3.5 hours into this party, I'm gonna stir it all up again. And I note the tomatoes are softening up nicely, so I squeeze them with my spoon. Squeezy squeeze. 4 to 5 hours later, people, and you get this. You give it a stirry stir and a smashy smash, a squeezy squeeze, and you let it go for another half an hour. And now it's finally time for the fishing game. I love fishing. I love fishing the herbs out of the tomato sauce. So here we are. We got one bay leaf. We've got the second bay leaf. Is this gonna be a record time? I don't know. We have to find the stem of the rosemary. And where is it, people? Where is it? By the way, if the fishing game gives you the creeps, you can always tie up the herbs into a bouquet garni. And there we've got it. We've got the stem of the rosemary. Bye stem of rosemary. Now it's time for the last step. To finish off this beautifully made tomato sauce, home cooked on your stove and not in a slow cooker, we have to blitz the shit out of this sauce, people. It makes it nice and smooth. After blitzing, you can always pass it through a sieve, but I don't mind a little bit of the fibers. Fibers are good, fibers are healthy. But anyway, if you like it extra smooth, pass it through a sieve. And for all the geeks and anorex that are saying, oh, a mixer to tomatoes and the pits will get bitter, well, it's not true. Not with this sauce, people. Believe me. So here it is. The uber tasty, freshly made tomato sauce from my kitchen to your stove, people. This will bring happiness to your house. The only last thing we have to do is taste the sauce. If it needs something else, you can add it now, like black pepper, for instance. I like to give it a good few turns of the good old black pepper. I taste it again, and then I decided I needed some more Hilko hot salt. And once the finishing touch is in, you enjoy the exploding flavor volcano and you stir everything in. Now, people, this is a classic sauce you have to make. If you don't have a garden with organic tomatoes, just buy a small crate of very ripe tomatoes. If they're not very ripe, leave them sitting out of the fridge for a couple of days till they're nice and squeezy. With those tomatoes, you make the best tasting freshly made tomato sauce. People, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week in another video. Till then, ciao ciao, alla prossima volta.